Alright folks, I've got here the Origen tank. There you go. I am going to build it very quickly and just show you how to take it all apart, and so you can see what the hell's going on with the thing. Right, first thing, it's top fill. There you go. Just take the top off, dead simple. Now the other bit, just put it on here so we can get a bit of purchase. Screw it on. Right. Next thing you can do is you can unscrew the tank, or you just pull it off, sorry. Two little O-rings hold it on. That's the chamber inside of there, you can see, and these two straws will go down onto a little bed of cotton, which I'll show you in a minute how it works. The next thing you've got is you've got an airflow ring, which is where the corset comes in, as Angsty calls it. There you go. And let's just take this off. Oh, first of all, sorry, let's just get off the you have to excuse me, I have just walked home and walked in the house. I need to get that off, but there you go. That's the chamber. That's where the airflow ring sits around the outside of that. And there's there, if I can get it to focus, is the deck. Dead easy. This camera's absolutely terrible. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bang a coil in it. Here's one that I made earlier, somewhere there, a little 3mm inner diameter coil, 0.37mm canthal, which is around about 26.5 gauge, and yeah, we'll get it all built up and get everything going for you. The first thing that I tend to do is, with anything where you've got the posts slightly apart, what I'll do is I'll just put a little bend in as close as I can to the coil. And if you can see that, I'll kind of make it so that the legs stick out just a little bit, so it means when I put it in, it's not deforming the coil too badly. The other thing that I may have to do is I may have to just put some little bends in the end of each bit of the wire, get into the middle there and there, just so that you can get in through the little holes in the top of the eye. Anyway, in the spares kit, of which you get a shitload of O-rings, unfortunately the only one thing it didn't come with, which I was quite surprised about, or I think it's a bit of a surprise, is you don't get any spare little straw tubes, these little peak tubes, which is how the how it actually wicks the juice. Is the cotton touches these tubes, and there's little tiny grooves, little cuts in the top of these tubes, and the air passes back through due to it wicking onto the material, and the pressure eventually gets enough that it pulls the air up into the tank, so it keeps replacing itself. Works perfectly well. You might think, oh, it'll never keep up, but oh, it keeps up. So next thing's next, we'll undo a couple of these little screws. Let's just make sure I can see through. Yep. Undo that one there. Dead easy. Now the next trick, I should try and get. Oh, it's getting a bit warm in here tonight. Could do with a bit of rainstorm. Right, so thread. Oh, do the long one first, otherwise I'll be there all night. And do the other one after. Now you'll notice what I've done is I've made it so that the legs come out. I don't know if you see that. I've made it so that the legs come out of the angle. They kind of, the holes go almost like that and like that. They're at 45 degrees, so you kind of have to make it go out a little bit. But as you put it in, if you twist your coil like that, as you put it in, and eventually as it gets closer, you can snap it back around to straight. So I'll pull that in. Get that, get that, get that. Now at the moment you'll see the coil is kind of vertical. The camera tries to tune in. What we'll do is we'll just straighten that out in a second. The other thing you have to be careful with these tanks is the actual chamber walls are closer, quite close to where the coil is, so you have to get your coil quite close to these posts, which can be at times a little bit tricky. So I'll try and get these in a little bit. Oh, pop back out again, didn't it? That's it. Give it a good pull. And you've got quite a bit of tension on, just pull them back and that'll hold it in place as you're doing it. Same again. Try to get back more tension on that. Yeah, that'll kind of do. At the moment we're not worried about positioning, all we're doing is worried about getting the coil in. And what we'll do is we'll just tighten it up while it's kind of out of position. If it pulls the coil towards the post, don't worry too much, because when you put this rod back in again and straighten the coil out, you can apply quite a lot of pressure onto it. When you're wrapping a coil around a post, around a rod, it actually doesn't get complete tension on it. It actually goes slack a little bit, so you have got a little bit of play in the coil itself when you want to work it. So, right, so there we go. We'll get the rod, put the rod back into the coil again, so it's there, and we'll give it a bit of a twist. Pull it so it's kind of straight, and there you go. One coil in position, flat. It's not the worst coil I've done along. I don't know how well this will focus, but we're soon going to find out. But there you go. One straightforward coil on the top, and you can see where the wire's coming out of the side. Yeah. Like that. There you go, and that's your coil. Basically, now what will happen is the first time that I fire this, it'll actually short across this far side, this side, and you've got it just going bright across there. So I shall do this in a minute for you as well and show you. So let's just get it kind of high. Now one of the things you have to do is you want to make sure that your coil, look at these the wrong way around, that your coil is in line with the airflow. Now it sits on there, so you want to try and get the height of your coil level with the airflow, and that's probably, it's not a million miles out. Try and get it there. It's not a million miles out. If the hole's below the coil, then that's a little bit better than it being above the coil. If it's above the coil, it doesn't get air underneath it. Air will go over it anyway because the air's going up and the turbulence is on the top side of the coil anyway, so you're alright if it's a little bit too high, but try to make sure that it's not too low. What you may want to do is you may want to raise the coil up to begin with, because when we put the cotton in a minute, which is what I'll do, I'll rise it up a little bit. It'll take quite a lot of pressure, but we're going to rise it up so the coil's sitting really high. Where it'll zoom in. So the coil's sitting high for the moment, and what we'll do is we'll put the wick in and then we'll drop it down. But first of all, we're just going to get rid of any little hot spots that are in it. Trim the wires off. Let's give that a cut. And another cut. Give it one last little check to make sure that things are tight. 1, 2. They're really well built, these things are very, very well built. So rise it up. Okay, that'll do temporary. Right, let's put it on something to fire it. What shall we use? I think we will use an E-fusion. There we go. So we're going to drop it down to, about 15 watts. 36, 35, 20, 29, 18, 17, 16, 15. Look at that, dead on the money, straight off, 15 watts. Stick it on. Now, I'm not sure what actual reading this is going to come out at, but I'm going to guess around about 1.3. I would have thought something like that. Now, you might think that's quite high for resistance, but there's an awful lot of wire. So what we're going to do is we're going to throw a lot of voltage at it, which means you can run this at 21 to 23 watts quite easily. So what we'll do is, let's see if it'll fire. Let's see if it'll zoom in first. Let's see if it'll do. Probably going to go on the far side first. Yep, there it goes on the far side. So what we'll do is strum it a little bit. It's the nastiest coil in the world, this one is, but I don't really care because this one's just for us to play around with, so we can check what it's doing. Strum it, bang on. Feels fine. There you go. Yeah, that's a particularly nasty coil, this is, but well, I'm not too bothered about how the coil looks at the moment because I'm doing this for you guys. And let's get the rod back out again when eventually it decides it wants to come out. There's quite a lot of tension on there, so we'll just have to wiggle this backwards and forwards a little bit. And eventually, yep, there it goes, comes out. Try it again, check. Yep, that's about right. That'll do. So, there you go. That's that bit. Next thing we'll do is we'll grab a little bit of cotton. And what I'll tend to do with cotton is I'll cut off a fairly big chunk of this. I'm only going to use a little bit of it, but I save the bits that I don't use. First, what I'll do is take a bit of this, thin it out a little bit. Let's take one of those, take off a little bit more. Now this is the reason that I use this kind of cotton rather than things like cotton bacon, is I can actually get a bit of a better measurement as to exactly how much cotton I'm dealing with. That's probably, yeah, it's probably about 1 centimetre altogether. And I'm going to roll it so that the fluffy side is sticking out, because that's the bit that I want to be in contact with the outside world, and that's the bit that'll be picking up the juice, so the broken bit's going to be better at picking up the juice than the tough side. So there we go, roll one end of it. Oh, one of these days I might have to do professional reviews on these days, but right, there we go, thread it through. It's pretty tight actually, but it'll take a little bit of pull. There you go. Now if you want to gauge how far the cotton needs to go, just get the cotton and lay it over the top of the atty like that. Then snip it so that it's level with the top, with the actual surround of the atty, the base of the atty. Do the same on the other side. Fold it over the top, get it in line with the base, and there you go. Right. That's what I end up with the weight of cotton. What we're going to do is we're going to tuck it underneath. So we'll go like that, and we're going to thread it through to the other side, and you'll notice that the cotton's just around about the right length to get onto the side of the deck, like that. And what we'll do is we'll do the same way the other bit on the other side. Move this one out the way a little bit so it doesn't get pulled out on the way through. Get this one, prod it underneath. Takes a little bit, this one's a bit fussier doing this side because obviously there's already cotton in the way. And give that a pull, get all that lot, put it all down, make sure the other side's all kind of tucked into the right place. Make sure you've got some air underneath it for the time being. There you go. That's what it should look like when eventually it zooms in. There you go. Now, at the moment, this is still high up, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to press it down a little bit to get it in line with the airflow bit. So just press that down a little bit, push it down. Oh, a bit too far. I'm just getting it back up again. What have I got to do with that? I've got some flat piece and some flat tweezers there. So get the coil, bring the coil back up again, get it about right. And there you go. Eventually, when it decides it wants to zoom in, oh, it's not going to bloody do it. But anyway, you get the idea. There you go. And that's where it's going to be. That's about in line with where the airflow is going to come in from here. So if I get that and I put that next to that, there you go. It's almost level with the way you need it to be. Next thing we'll do is we'll get some juice. Tonight, Matthew, I am going to be putting in. Fucking hell, what should we put in there? I know what we'll put in. We'll put in some DB liquid gluttony. I think we'll do that. So get that, give it a good squeeze, get it all over the top, get it down there, get it in there, get it in there, get it in there. Let it soak up a bit. There goes tons of it on there. Get some under there as well. Now what you want to try and avoid doing is pressing the cotton too much when it's wet. If you kind of get it all in the right place while it's dry, it'll still kind of retain some air or some gaps in the actual cotton itself. If you start to work cotton once it's wet, its kind of capacity drops a bit. So just make sure that you're kind of working it when it's dry, and don't do too much on it when it's wet. But all being well, let's turn it up a bit. That's a bit weak at the moment. Right, so go to 21 watts. There you go. Spitting away, doing whatever it needs to do. So what we'll do is I'm going to throw all of the bits on in all of the right order. So what we'll do is we will put the airflow on. Just see if I've done this right. You see, I'm testing myself here to see whether I've done this right. Put these right. No, wrong way around. Airflow goes that way around. Got to remember. Okay, airflow on onto that section. That's the top cap. Next bit we're going to do is we're going to put this bit onto that bit. Wrong way around again. What we're going to do is we're going to make sure that these two straws are on the opposite side to your airflow, because you're going to discover that if you don't do that, it's very hard to actually get the top on. So what you want is your airflow is over there and your little tubes are there. And what we'll do is we won't fill this up because we're going to do that in a minute, and basically plop that on the top, press it down a little bit. That's it. You have now got one built Origen, or an Origen tank. So let's go drip tip. Let's zoom this out a little bit because that's a little bit close. People have probably been shouting, "Zoom out anyway, you twat." There you go. Put a drip tip in. So there you go. Nice. Drip tip. It does look like a bloody Titan rocket. It's quite incredible, isn't it? Let's give it a fire. Yeah. Yeah. That works. So what we'll do then is we will fill the tank. Now the top drip tip will come off with the top cap because that's actually separate. And we will throw a load of juice in here. I won't show you all of this bit because otherwise I'll spill it all over my desk and that would be annoying. But fill it, fill it, fill it, fill it, fill it, fill it. God, it's take juices for the weather. Go, 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 go. Got quite a good capacity on this thing. And so you go to the top. There you go. Pretty full. Now I've got a feeling that this might, just might, when I put the top cap on, flood a little bit because there's quite a lot of play there. So when I put this on, I'm expecting it to get a little bit gurgly, but it won't be too bad. But there you go. That's it. All done. And if you want to see what's happening in the chamber, this is going to be an interesting part because this all kind of comes apart. But I should be able to just pull it off. That's it. You see it gets quite wet on the inside. It builds up quite quick. But that's it. Air goes up one hole and down the other one. That's the way the thing works. And that's your little bit of cotton. And jam that back on again, make sure the air holes in roughly the right place. Tighten up a little bit more because I think doing that very tight, get the airflow right. That's it. Job done. And that is your hydrogen tank. It's pretty good. The build quality is brilliant. I don't think you'll have any problems. It doesn't take much to do. The only things you have to be careful of, make sure you get your coil in the right place. I don't know if you'll be able to see this very well, or if you do, it's going to be quite difficult, I think. But the coil's pretty much in line with. Yeah, you're never going to see this with this reflection. My camera work is absolutely shoddy. I'm no Mark Todd when it comes to doing these things. Damien may be, but not Mark. But yeah, the coil's just on the other side of the hole there. You can see it all the way across. Make sure your coil is away from the airflow as much as you can, so keep your coil as close to the post as you can. Build it high and then tuck your cotton underneath and then drop it back down again into the right position. But measuring your cotton is really easy. Fold it over and cut it. Do that first and then you'll always be around about the right length. But what's happening inside is those tubes are now touching the cotton, the bed of cotton, and they will, over time, you'll start to see little bubbles appear on the opposite side to where your airflow is, inside of the tank. So if you're looking for the bubbles, look to the opposite side of your airflow. To opposite side. That's it. It's really, really nice. I really like all of Norbert's stuff. He's, I've got the V2s, I've got V3s, I've got Origen, he's got the tiny tank. They're brilliant. So the only thing it needs is they need to think about getting rid of the corset, and they should be able to do it because the actual airflow itself, or this part, is flat on the inside, and the pressure has been applied to it by the O-rings on the underside. There's nothing to stop somebody from making their own one with a thicker piece of metal that goes over the top, or with a different material even that goes over the top of this airflow as well. So you could end up with quite a natty design if somebody's got a little bit more talent than I've got. But yeah, that's pretty much it. There you go. That is the Origen tank, and it's very, very good. Really like it. Anyway, there you go. That's how to build it. See you in a bit.